We've got Professor Siri Otori here from the Novena University, and he is a geneticist. So you're welcome to the program this morning on our TV. All right.
Thank you.
All right. So viewers, in the next couple of minutes, we're going to be looking at genetically modified organisms, in general. But for the purpose of emphasis, we're going to narrow it down to food, because most times we eat these items, we take them on daily basis. And for a nation like Nigeria, that hunger seems to be a major problem now. Little wonder whether any person will have to care whether a food item is genetically modified or not. Now, there have been so much argument about it, there's no doubt about that. We understand that in some nations of the world, take for example in Russia, whereby the president there, Vladimir Putin, had to put up a legislation very recently that he doesn't want anything to do with genetically modified organisms, most especially food, because of the ravaging implications that it may have on health. But a country like Nigeria, like I said, little wonder whether the government of the day is looking at all these issues even as we go on in the country. Professor, you're welcome one more time.
Thank
now,
you.
let's start from looking at genetically modified organisms in the first place. What are they before we narrow it down to food?
Yes, when you say something is genetically modified, which means the genetic composition of that organism is turned the other way around, being different from natural process. So if, for example, a crop is under natural condition, is developed not to resist, for example, drought, then you as a scientist, you have all the possibility to say, okay, let's alter the gene action in order for that crop to become resistant to drought. That is exactly what you are seeing under genetically modified foods. That is, one, everybody should be sensitive to concept when it comes to modification. If you say you have genetically modified any organism, which means you have completely changed its genetic composition.
That's the DNA.
So the expression of that crop, the expression of that organism, provided it's living, it has a cell, is quite different from the way it came naturally. And that's genetically modified food.
All right, so I said that very recently there are growing concerns, in nations of the world, and in somewhere like Russia and one or two other countries now, they are sponsoring bills to ensure that they don't want anything to do with such items.
Sure.
It's only nations like the US, the UK, that you have genetically motivated items, food items, organisms still thrive. But even at that, there are caveats that are placed on these items most times. When you go to shops, you take an item, there is a caveat there that, hey, this thing is like this, so be warned and all that. But here in Nigeria, little wonder whether we have such, situation. Now, tell us, we have various food items in the country. There are species of cereal in the country and all that.
Well.
And cereal, maize now, is almost a big food here.
Yeah.
I mean, a rubber of rice and a rubber of maize in the market goes for 4,000, 5,000 naira. Rice is about 6,000 naira now and all that. Now, is the government, I mean, you are a professional in this direction. Is the government aware of all this?
Let me just make it clear that it's very, very unfortunate that back home in Africa, our leaders dive into certain decisions without taking the pains to find out the side effect or after effect of some certain decisions that you want to implement. I have always said it, anytime I have the opportunity, that in our government, for example, Nigerian government, there is a wide gap between those in government who takes decision and the research institutes where knowledge is supposed to come from. See, there is no way you utter, like they have done from all informations we have gotten so far about genetically modified food. There was something, a body that was used as a vector to utter these genes. And from, if you check literature, you see bacterium. Then sometimes you see they will classify bacterium as a plant. I said, no, how can a bacteria be a plant? It's not. So you are bringing in a body that is different from the plant system, and you are imputing it inside to arrive at certain desires. That's all about modification, to bring up that factor or that trait that you desire. Is it not?
Yeah.
Good. Then you now bring in a body. That body you are bringing in, how does it now fit into the system? When does it work? And when does it end its work? How does it come out? So that the end point users, which is humans, will not now be affected with what we are using as a base to achieve your modification. Nobody answers those questions. Fine, we look at genetically modification. What actually has brought about genetically modified foods in Africa when we have wide expanse of land that are not cultivated? Different series, different crops, varieties that we have not even utilized naturally. Then you are going into the laboratory. Another concept has even been used for modification. They have even added another word, engineered.
Yeah.
Engineered food.
Yeah.
So which means everything is carried out inside the lab. So if you carry out a process inside the lab, one, as a geneticist, I have advised everybody to take note of it, that they cannot reproduce themselves because you have technically induced mutation. A mutagenic effect deviates from natural. So if you engineer a crop like maize and you arrive at a product like the one they call teller maize, if actually the teller maize that we are seeing being advertised everywhere is the actual teller maize that have been engineered, it cannot reproduce itself because a vector has been introduced inside.
No,
from all they have been saying.
Oh yeah, we all know terra maize, the
Yes.
yellowish in color. They come in varieties now.
Let me tell you something about all these factors that comes to play when people feels there are desires to achieve. For example, I'm a genetist, and I want to tell you point blank that I have visited one or two markets, and I have not been able to identify. You don't, out of physical evaluation, evaluate a genetically modified food. It could look similar. You bring 3 tomatoes, fruits here. It will be difficult for you, looking at me like this, to identify which one has been genetically modified.
I
Not
know.
until you do some laboratory analysis
I know.
that will show the changes in the genome of any of them that has been achieved inside the lab.
Yeah, I know. Now, what we are saying, I remember when we were growing up, because I grew up I mean, my grandparents, they were both farmers. I remember those good old days, the native corn, the native maize and all that. Now, for God knows what, that just went into oblivion. You hardly find the native maize now. What you have, they call it a Greek species. And that's a variety of the terra maize.
No. If you look at what you have just explained, our grandparents took the process of hybridization. Even unknowingly to them, they were carrying out hybridization in the sense that you like the yellow color of the yellow maize, but you like the thick and the
taste.
big or the taste in the white maize.
And the native
then
maize.
you plant them together. The natural process of pollination occurs, and genes are transferred naturally.
That's not even where I'm going to.
I'm not where you're going
What
to.
I'm trying to explain,
Yes.
because a while ago, you said that genetically modified maize,
Yes.
terra maize,
Yes.
cannot reproduce itself.
I
that was what
I
you
am
said.
coming there.
Now I put it to you, because I remember
Yes.
some several months ago, the federal government now, through the Federal Minister of Agriculture,
Yes.
went to the media and they made it public that, hey, terra maize is good, it's edible,
Yes.
let us plant it. Because of one, the commercial value, and because of the high yield value and all that, because of
Yes.
the resistance to pests, resistance to herbicides and
Yes.
all that.
Yes.
And for a nation like Nigeria
Yes.
that needs food, the terra maize has to be planted, so that people can get food
must
to
be
eat.
planted,
Now, That's what we have in the market now. You go to the market now, you have two types of maize. You have the white corn,
Yes.
and of course you have the
But have
yellow
you
stalk.
taken time? I'm not shutting you down. Have you taken time to look at the package for that teller maize?
What
It's
do you-
written there hybrid.
Yeah.
Are hybrid genetically modified? No, I'm a genetist. I'm saying completely no to
So
it.
what you're saying is that the maize we have in the market are not genetically modified?
If what they are bringing to us, like they have advertised teller maize as hybrid, hybridization process is different from modification process.
What is hybridization?
Hybridization, you allow it to pass through a natural process of transferring traits from two organisms. Do you understand? And first of all, under genetic provisions, they must fall within organisms of same species in the sense of chromosome numbers. You remember that there was an animal that was crossed with another animal, horse and one other, and they arrived at the meal.
So if you have
There
a
is a
product,
basics for that.
Yeah,
That
so-
is, the chromosome numbers must be same for them to be able to match, to reproduce. Even at that, the byproduct of that cross, the meal, is sterile. It cannot reproduce itself. Hope you know that.
so what you have in the
I-
market now,
What we have in the market is still contradictions to claims, in the sense that if they give us teller maize, pure teller maize, modified, genetically modified, and classify it as GMO, genetically modified food,
Yeah.
is different from when you classify a packet that the content is hybrid. What I have seen so far is hybrid. Hybrid is safe.
hybrid is safe?
Yes, because it passed through natural process
Okay.
of crossing desired traits to mix together to achieve a desired goal.
So what we have in the market is hybrid maize.
If it is from the packet, is hybrid maize.
No, when you
so
say
it's
from
not
the packet
genetically
now,
modified.
oh,
Do you know why?
when you say
because
from
there
the
has
pack-
been this argument that they don't want to label. When you are presenting anything for food, it should be generally acceptable. Hope you
It's
know
supposed
that.
to be labeled. Yeah,
Good.
right.
Then in the developed world like America, in Germany, in Britain, and everywhere, you go to the shelf, they are labeled. Is it not? You see there GMO, genetically modified food.
All right,
Do you
so-
know why they are labeled?
Yeah.
Let me just chip in there. Do you know why they are labeled? So that the decision of eating that food is yours.
Is yours.
So the after effect, nobody will be held responsible for any side effect that thing will have on you as food.
All right, so unlike in Nigeria now that we don't have these food items labeled, except if you go to some exotic supermarkets and all that. I think in that now they're already processed. They are processed states now. But let's look at it in their natural state. Say, for example, somebody goes to a nearby market, he or she buys maize, which is yellowish in color. And for a lot of people, that is a terra maize and all that. Like I said a while ago, that there are two in color. You have the white and the yellow.
Yes.
Now, there has been this misconception, even before you came on, before we decided to put this topic together, there has been this misconception that there are genetically modified food items in the market.
Yes.
You know, the maize we eat now, more than 80% of it is genetically modified. The beans we eat, the rice and all that, they are all genetically modified. And that's the reason why that we have this ravaging, stories of allergies, cancer, and all that. That is why we're looking at this topic today. So the maize in the market now,
Yes.
the common maize we find in the market, the
Yes.
yellow maize,
Yes.
are they genetically modified?
I will tell you, I don't know. I don't know, because not until you who produces it, labels it, and tell me that this is genetically modified, you cannot differentiate
Now
it.
we're talking about farmers that don't even know these things. They just plant.
But no, I will accept that from you, because there are processes to life. Is it not somebody who brought the maize and said, this is an improved maize, take and plant? So why can't you ask the person, how did you arrive at this? For the past few weeks, I've been asking simple questions. What are the processes that led to the production of the genetically modified food? If you went into the lab to produce it, what are the processes you followed in the lab? How did you get your bacterium inside so that the maize that you are calling genetically modified food can kill insects on its own, inbuilt there is insecticide inbuilt in the maize.
It can also resist herbicides.
It can also on its own resist herbicide, and itself in natural state is a herb because it's a plant. Are you getting me? So if a plant you called food can resist insect, insects are a class of animals. They are not the same with plants. Then why do you feel that collectively an accumulation of such inside the body will not have side effect in the nearest future? No, talk to me. We are looking at basics of science. See, I am beginning to see an era where people just sit down and feel that they come with this idea of scientific Maradonaing of people and feel that they can carry everybody along. But it's not possible. It's not.
All right.
You introduce a bacterium to arrive. Fine. We are not saying that we are not supporting any idea that will bring improvement. Good. But the hide and seek game about it is what is scaring me. Because there is no truth in what they are telling the people.
All right, so who is playing the hide and seek?
Whoever has brought that process that has led to genetically modified food.
You mean the Federal Minister of Agriculture?
Is it Federal Ministry of... Are we not inheriting the idea? Does it started from here?
Yeah, but
check the Google and find out who started all about genetically modified food. Okay. Far back 1982.
We're trying to look at how these food items, get into the country. And you talked about somebody, approved them and all that. And your concern is that there seems to be no caveats on these items that we plant, we grow, we buy, we eat. Whereas in some nations of the world, advanced nations of the world, there are caveats. Yes. Now, I remember when the issue of the terra corn came about, the yellowish corn that we were trying to make, reference to a while ago. Okay. And I also remember that the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, yes, through some certain agencies, had to allay the fears that, hey, these things are good for consumption and all that. Now, the concern of some professionals like you, that if you're saying that they are good for concerns, where are the tests that you did? How come the caveats are also not there to show, the results of the test, most especially on the database of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture? That was the big question that was asked. But let us look at it one more time. Now, for a nation like Nigeria, that hunger is a big issue now. Now, I remember centuries ago, we didn't really have issues with all this when we grew our food naturally and all that, we ate our food naturally. But ever since issues like banditry came on board, droughts came on board, that these food items became scarce. We started growing genetically modified ones so that they can feed a determined population. Now, in that perspective, how do you think Nigeria, a country like Nigeria, can go?
See, there are basic principles in a process. See, let me tell you something. When COVID came, there were a lot of unfolding issues. And I remember at the concluding part of COVID-19, I said, everybody should watch out. It's not ended. There are events that will unfold.
Follow, yeah.
See, let me tell you something. The bandits that are inside the forest driving away the farmers, what do they profit inside the forest by driving away the farmers? Does it give you an idea that there is something behind every action that you see? So if the farmers are out of the forest and out of the bushes and out of the farms, then there should be an alternative. So the only alternative now will now be to look at what is genetically modified. They produce it in the lab. So that you accept it for a while. Let me tell you that genetically modified food cannot stay for life. It's not possible. It's coming for a purpose, to achieve a desire. So and once that desire is achieved, then it will go again.
You mean the desire to make people sick?
Let me tell you, population control, I have mentioned it severally. There are elements and programs of population control. And it's being championed by just one person across the world.
Who is that?
And that's Bill Gates. And he visited Nigeria. And after he left, issues of GMO came up. And he has discussed with the president. Fine. He is at the receiving end. But the gap there is that no effort was made to say, this thing they are bringing as genetically modified food, what will be the effect on my people?
Now, Bill Gates is not talking to Nigerian government only. I mean, he deals with the U.S.
No,
as a matter
yes, I'm bringing it back home
so-
because
so-
I'm in
so
Nigeria.
are you trying to say that
I'm not in America,
Yeah, but
even in America, genetically modified food, like we have said,
They are
is
there.
labeled.
They are there.
They are there, but they are labeled.
Yeah.
So that I have said it immediately. I sat there. It was the first thing I mentioned, that it will be at your own discretion to choose. So you decide, so that whatever you see later, you don't hold any person responsible. So somebody came, you want to profile for us solution to hunger, and you are bringing a process that is even more expensive than the process we know and we inherited from our parents. You have mentioned before that your parents and your grandparents went to the farm to plant, is it not?
Yeah.
We have the forest,
Yeah.
we have the viable, the fertile land to plant. But somebody is saying, no, that the plants you are going to plant in your farm is not yielding enough.
Yeah, when you say we have, yeah,
Wait,
Professor,
it's not yielding
yeah,
enough.
Professor,
Let's bring in a breed, or let's bring in a type that will meet hunger.
Yeah.
And that type, chemically, is holding things that are not friendly with
yeah,
humans.
Professor, let's look at these things now in a more dispassionate way. Now, what actually gave rise to this genetically modified products we're talking about now? I remember the native corn I keep referring to. It was when the need came up for us to start planting corn that will resist insect, because even the insects too, they became also genetically modified. We started having insects, we started having herbicides that could defile any herbicides, any insecticides and all.
Oh.
I mean, take for example, like a malaria parasite.
Okay,
now.
good.
Those good old days, if you take an anti-malaria drug, one dose, they're out. But these days, you have to treat continuous treatment and all that.
Good.
So don't you also think that it's probably a case of since the since the hunter learns how to shoot without missing, then of course the bird also learns how to fly without perching. So what I'm saying is that since we started having pests,
Yes.
herbs that
Yes.
are resistant
Yes.
to herbicides and,
Yes.
and insecticides,
Yes.
then the farmers in advanced countries also started producing genetically modified food items.
I will ask a question. The insect is a different body from the plant. It comes to feed, is it not?
Yeah.
Then the genetically engineered, the bacteria that will kill the insect is inside. Are you following? Is inside. So it takes even the insect to eat up the plant first. So the plant that the insect has eaten up will produce what? Are you getting my analysis? You want to reduce insects, but the insect will first of all eat up the plant, because the herbicide is the pesticide is inside the plant, so it will eat up the fruit, the seeds first.
Yeah, but many
and eat up the plant.
Yeah, but many times these insects becomes
And like you have mentioned before, some of them on their own, because of this trading of heavy metals in different forms and all that, has also imbibed that resistance to some of these things they are talking about. So they will even eat up the crop and they will not die. And they will fly to another one that is not genetically modified. They will eat that one up, then they will regain weight again and go back to their genetically modified crop, if ever it is what they are telling us that is genetically modified, and eat up the nonsense.
Okay,
and
so,
the insect will not die.
All right, so narrow it
There
down
are
one more
possibilities
time.
like that.
Yeah, Professor, to narrow it down one more time, what we're saying here this morning is that genetically modified items, when you take them, they have the capacity to also interfere with human DNA. Is that what we're saying?
Very well, because they contains a vector.
But how come we don't have human beings that begin to look like plants? I mean, because
there is no way a human being will look like plants.
because when we talk about the DNA now, we're talking about the basic
DNA is a basic, and it leads up to chromosome. Chromosomes lead specification in the sense that a species has definite chromosome numbers, and that is why we do say that chromosomes are species specific. Are you getting me? So there is no way one day that me, Siri, will undergo any modification they are talking about, and I will become a plant. It's not possible. Or one mango tree in the back of my house, they will now collect the fruit and modify it and plant it again, and it will become Siri. How possible is that?
So what are the implications, apart from the fact that we have opined that, okay, we begin to have allergies, we begin to have cancer-related issues because of the intake of these genetically modified food items and all that. What are other applications we need to look out for?
The further implications we need to look out for is that, see, when you take in what is not supposed to be part of the body will react in different forms. See, after Hiroshima war, many years after, you see phony creatures coming up. That's mutation. So indirectly, they will bring mutations to human. So that at the long run, you see, even when we survive, we don't die. A woman can get pregnant and give birth to funny creatures. Let me tell you something about chromosome drift. If there is a change in chromosome number at the early stage of birth, in the process of birth, which is pregnancy in humans, let me tell you that my auntie can give birth to a live monkey. Yes, if the chromosome number changes, either by increasing or decreasing, due to external factors, there is no way the genetic or the internal factors will on their own change genetic expression. No way. There must be external factors. And when that external factors, which we regard as environment in genetics, when they now come to interact with genetic parameters, then the expressivity, which is the phenotype, will start changing. But there is no way phenotype, do you understand, and environmental factors will change genotype. There's no way. It doesn't.
So in all of all this now, how do we begin to find solutions to
the solution is this. You don't eat what you don't know. Food normally is generally accepted. It goes through a lot of process. You allow people to they test it with animals and see that it's safe. Then they go as far as testing it with condemned prisoners to see whether if I, as Siri, eat it, whether I'm safe. But these days, you discover that any government can just prescribe for humans anything and classify it in any concept they feel they can use to deceive the gentleman in the street who does not have that educational background, who does not have that prior knowledge of what they are bringing. All of a sudden you hear genetically modified food. Now it's genetically engineered. Engineer means there is human interference. So when you interfere with nature, nature will bounce back. And interact with you. So I am saying clearly, if all we have heard about genetically modified food is what genetically modified food is, let them label it so that I, Siri, will have the opportunity to reject it in their counter and it will remain there.
Wow. All right, so Professor, we want to say a very big thank you because very, very educative that you have given this morning. Like I said a while ago, that in some other climes, this GMO issue is beginning to, draw a very interesting attention because of the ravaging sickness here and there, ailments here and there, allergy, cancer-related issues and all that. If you go to, supermarkets in some countries of the world, they label them. There are caveats that are placed on these items, but here in Nigeria, except if you go to big-time supermarket. Now, the issue is that a lot of persons don't even go to big-time supermarkets. They go to nearby markets to buy, these food items, and they, cook, they eat, and all that. So we just hope and pray that those involved, the authorities, especially the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, should really look inward and look at these things, even as Nigeria try to fight hunger issue in the country. I want to say a very big thank you one more time, Prof.
Thank you very much, sir. And just an advice for the populace. You don't, out of hunger, eat poison.
I know.
It doesn't make sense.
I know.
And whatever you are giving to us as food, you must show it to us, and we'll have all the responsibility to access, whether it is food or not. But from all GMO is now, resist GMO because it's a cooked poison. Because if it can kill insect, it will, on the long run, kill humans.
And I
Thank you very much.
The teeming population, we know what GMOs items are, food They are in food or in animal products, your dairy products, your egg, the chicken you buy in the markets, some frozen chickens that are GMO products and
Yeah,
items. So we
you're
should know
right.
them so that we don't eat things that
That will
will
kill us.
kill us.